Welcome to
Welcome,
Humpday
welcome.
Q&A.
We didn't get a 30-second countdown.
No, we stopped doing that. You went around with that one. We used that little clip instead at the moment.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't have a mug of coffee in my face.
Give us some upbeat beats. Get us going.
You know, there was a little thing in the beginning of that video for FlutterCon that said call for papers is now open. Actually, no. Because for Germany, it is. It is still open. So if you want to speak at FlutterCon Europe in Germany, you better look it up because I know that the call for papers is not going to be open for all that much longer.
Berlin is on its way.
Yep.
Right. We have some people with us, so let's kind of we're going to get going straight to the stream and get your questions in the chat as usual. But let's do some introductions. So my name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter community leader, CTO at Dev Angels London, and you can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London and other social medias. Randall will join us in just a second, but Scott, I'm afraid I'm removed from the slides because you went around. So now you're back. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Scott Stahl. I am also a Flutter community lead, organizer of GDG Cleveland, and all-around great human being, according to some people. Yeah, and why don't we get moving on to Randall here?
Randall.
Hi, I'm Randall Schwartz. I'm a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert. Have been since the beginning of the program 6 years ago or so. And I seem to have lost my throat. I'm just all of a sudden realizing I haven't talked much to people since FlutterCon. So, but I spend a lot of my time answering questions online on the various social media outlets for Flutter. And I also present occasionally at conferences like I will be tomorrow, and virtually, of course. And I'm also, for this show, the question magician, which means I'm watching the chat, watching for your questions to us, which you should prefix with Q:. That way I know it's for us and not just talking amongst yourselves, which you often do. Don't repeat your question. If you repeat your question, I put it further down in the queue. You're going to get the second slot rather than the first slot. So don't repeat your question or you just lose your place in line. Yeah.
And we have Danielle. Danielle.
Hey, everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I am the Flutter tech lead for a small startup called Ardley. My CTO is actually at FlutterCon. And so I would introduce to him, I would say, you all know how I say I lead a small team of Flutter engineers at Ardley. He's the one that lets me do that. So that was how I introduced him. But anyway, I also am one of the organizers for the Flutteristas. And so I don't have a special job for this show. So I will just throw my remaining time back to Randall about the questions. But we've also got a John. So let's bring John on.
Uh-oh. Why don't we get rid of the banner for a second there? Yeah.
No, just cover up, that's all right. Yeah. So I'm John Weezy. I run the Flutter community Medium. In my spare time, I work at a small company in the AI group. And in my other free time, I sit around and answer questions like Randall in Discord and other places for folks on Flutter. Simon, you're muted.
It's not a stream unless somebody does that.
I said more free time. Someone actually has free time. Amazing.
Free time, yeah. My 30 seconds a day.
This is the same guy that said he works for a small company. So, we have to with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that? Microtech or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Micro-soft or something like that. Yeah.
I have a little picture to share with everyone.
Yeah.
This is from last week.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh,
hey. Some of those people.
Yeah.
That was our end of day hair.
I was going to say that looks like an end of day pic.
Oh, this was. There's a Matthew in the background there.
Oh, in there. Photo bomb.
Gives you an idea of how tall he really is.
And this is I'd already gone to bed and got a message saying, "Hey, we're all downstairs. You need to come down now for a couple hours." So yeah.
Yep. And the funny thing is you've got the best hair of the bunch.
Well.
Yep.
Let's see if I can find another picture here. Hang on. There's a few of us that managed to get into a picture. Hang on. Got to find a half decent one. There was many were taken.
For those of you looking for context for this, FlutterCon in New York was last week, and many of us were there. It was nice.
Real cool. While Simon's looking for that picture, Michael, my company is me, myself, and I. So there are three of them.
3 people. Yeah, 3 people, right.
The Three Musketeer.
Yeah. I like that.
You might still have answers though for him with the rest of it. That was part of it, but he also wants to know. I mean, have you been able to get traction with the new rules and stuff?
Yeah.
Being a little indie guy.
No, I haven't. I have one very simple app that's in the middle of getting what in the world do they call that now? Closed testing.
Okay.
Who's that? Who's that on the screen?
Yep.
Right. You got a couple more people that are here.
Freedom Us and Matthew Jones.
Yeah.
And Nick. I don't know
Nick's
last name.
I don't see him on the comments, but yeah.
So yeah. Matthew, you have to get Nick in here so he can see the picture.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was a good time. It's still a smaller event, other than the European one, as we've always said before. But it's grown. It has grown since last year, and come join us next year for FlutterCon USA.
Yeah. We may not be in New York City next year.
Sorry.
It may not be in New York City next year.
Yeah, it may not be in New York. We're still trying to work that way.
Yeah.
The venue so for those that don't know, that came to the first one in USA the year before last. It was in a wedding venue, and it was just gold mirrors and bling. And then this year we thought, okay, we'll get a better space, we'll get a bigger space, more of that, so the big warehouse kind of space. And we thought we'd try the audio stuff. So you put where you put your own headphones in, you can listen. Didn't quite work as intended. Some delays. Some
let's just say it didn't quite
issues.
Work.
But in the end, the stages were far enough apart that we could put the loudspeakers on, and it wasn't too disruptive. So
that part was fine. It also turned out to be like about 400 degrees in New York last week.
First day of the conference.
Oh my god!
The air conditioning could not keep up. It was 90 something Fahrenheit inside, with the air conditioners trying to run full blast, and that is what, Simon? It was like 35. 36.
It must have been about 37. It was I don't know, 35. Yeah, maybe 35, 36 around there. Basically, it was definitely hot at the body temperature because you were breathing, and it was just hot air around you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then
it was worth being there for the
weather change.
It was worth being there for the people and the content, but it was miserable, especially that first day.
That first day.
And the second day, I was cold.
I definitely wasn't cold, but
I wasn't cold.
Well, I wore shorts thinking that it was going to still be very hot.
I think it was. I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
I think those are big air conditioners we had going on. Did you see the massive fan that was on the ceiling of the warehouse? I think
there
was
were
about
3 of those.
Was that about 35 foot across or something? I don't know.
No.
At least, yeah.
From blade to blade, end of one blade to the other blade.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would think it was closer to 18 to 20.
No, it was more than that.
But they were
big. It did the whole width of that warehouse. It was covering about at least 2
You're talking about the one up front?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think 10 meters would be at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was huge.
I don't know. But I mean, they were. We can all agree they were huge.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to point out.
Put it this way, I'm so glad we had them. Just something on that first day. Otherwise, we would have cancelled it. It just wouldn't have worked. Yeah.
Oh yeah. By the way, I do want to point one thing out. Somebody came up and introduced themselves to me the day before the event while I was sitting in the hotel, and I couldn't understand who they were saying that they were. Well, it turns out FRE with an accent is pronounced free.
Cool.
I'm sitting there trying to figure out who's free. Oh, you mean free?
Yeah. We've been saying it for all this time.
All you have to do is introduce them at a conference, and then you have to learn how to pronounce it.
Yeah, really.
Yep.
But no, he came walking up to me in the hotel venue because or in the hotel because he recognized me from the show. And I'm just sitting there waiting to check into my room because I had to wait for like 3 hours. They couldn't do an early check-in. But anyway, enough about those.
Everyone had a good time.
We had plenty of adventures.
Everyone in the chat have a good time if you came to the venue? I hope you did.
Yes, where are our friends from Uruguay?
Somnio.
Yep, there were like 8 different people there from Uruguay.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a crew.
It was great to see. It was great to see a bunch of the old faces. Thomas Burkhart as well. Who else? The list goes on.
Oh, jeez. The guys from Widget Book. The guys from Rebel App Studio. Matt Carroll was there.
I had to say, like, it wouldn't have been possible without all the amazing sponsors and speakers, right? These are things that make the events, work.
Well, let's try and give them all a shout out real quick. The ones we can remember anyway. There was Riverpod. Well, no, it's Riverpod, Widget Book, Rebel App Studio. Come on, guys, help me out.
I've got them. Hang on, I'm going to bring up the slide. Give me 1 second.
All right. But yeah, they make this kind of thing possible, and it's important that they get recognition and maybe a little advertising.
I did my Duolingo lesson.
VGV, of course. How could we forget VGV free?
Yeah, I did my Duolingo lesson while I was at Duolingo headquarters.
That was awesome. That was really awesome to go and Duolingo as well.
Yeah, I didn't get in time for that party. There was a speaker party there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did anybody figure out why Duolingo was a sponsor though?
Mm-hmm. So Duolingo, it is because it's a joint event with FlutterCon, DroidCon, and they were essentially came on board as the primary vendor of the DroidCon stuff. So.
Okay.
Flutter works on Android. You have to remember, right? Most people forget this, right? Yeah.
Heard that
so these were the slides. Ignore all this. So there's our lovely program committee.
Yeah.
Recognize a few faces, I'm sure.
Yeah.
A few.
Oh yes. All right. Firebase Studio, Flutteristas. How could we forget the Flutteristas?
Oh, trust me, I didn't forget it, but we didn't kick in any money, so I wasn't sure.
Code Magic did. Shorebird.
Yeah.
Flutter Flow, of course. They were silver sponsor.
Yep.
And then if anyone was, that's kind of.
Now keep in mind that those are not separate rooms. That's one big room.
The Tech Lead Summit
and
that was extra hot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The Tech Lead Summit was like an extra room kind of thing, and that was extra hot. Yeah.
That's where that was. Somebody told me it was down near catering.
Oh, well, they were wrong.
So that's where the roundtables
obviously.
Yeah, I tell you what, I didn't actually realize. See, it says speaker lounge. I never even went in the speaker lounge. I didn't have time
either. Yeah, I never. That must have been. I saw people going indoors around there. I don't know. I never saw it.
The speaker lounge was on the other side of catering because it was the only place I could find a seat to eat.
No, that's the networking, games, and lounging area.
No, I know, but in reality, catering was a little bit to the left and the speaker lounge was a little bit to the right. They were very close to each other.
Yeah. And we had our lovely keynote speaker, Andrew. Yeah. And the second keynote speaker was Chris Sells. So, Anyway, there you go.
Chris speaking on AI. Norbert's talk was fantastic. I didn't realize how valuable it was going to be until I was sitting in the airport because he showed how to use this thing called Cursor. And I signed up on Cursor and I was like, I'm not going to like it. It's based off VS Code. I'm an IntelliJ guy. I'm not going to like this. So I start typing into the AI window and describing what I want. And this thing starts writing all these different files for me. I mean, I'm not talking about writing a few lines of code. I'm talking about writing 15 different files.
Yeah, you just missed all of our. We've been doing streams on this channel for like the past 10 weeks about this.
Oh, geez. I wrote an entire app while sitting in the Delta Lounge waiting for my plane.
Nice.
Yeah, right, Simon. It's Steph and Ezra and Norbert and you.
FCAIC, Flutter Community AI Circle.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm clearly going to have to. When is that stream?
Mondays.
Mondays.
I'm going to have to see about getting Mondays and Wednesdays off.
Some kind of case of the Mondays.
I know, Office Space. Just for anyone that's trying to post content, if you want to post some code and share it with us and get some review or bug fix or whatever it might be, this is what you need to do. The procedure you need to go gist.new, which takes you to GitHub new gist page, pop in your description, pop in your file name, ending in .dart, paste your code, type whatever comments or stuff you want, and create public gist. And then you grab not the whole URL, just the hash from the URL, and that's enough for us to be able to find it and retrieve the code.
And for anyone who doesn't know, the hash is that great big number that's to the right.
The thing in the red box on point 6.
Yes. The thing below the black square.
Yes.
Right.
Hello, Marco.
Do we actually have any questions yet?
Couple.
I mean, we can start in on some stuff.
All right.
Let's go.
And then we could get on some live coding. I'm not happy to we could do some answer questions whilst we're doing some of that stuff, or do something. I don't know. I'm thinking.
Okay. Well, first question. Let's give this a try. Have you checked out Dotcorr, which will be equivalent to React Native built for Dart, which also supports Flutter engine?
Flutter
engine. Please review it.
The new form of Flutter.
Yeah.
Gluttonous.
Yeah.
It's gluttonous Flutter.
Flutter is trending on Stack Overflow.
It's always trending. It trends everywhere because it is the best trend there is.
No, I said
Get
Flutter.
on the Flutter train now. So
Dotcorr.com.
It's I feel like it's maybe a misspelling because I'm looking at it, but maybe
no, it is. It's Dotcorr.com.
Oh yeah, okay. Native cross-platform with Dart, no views. Is this his project?
It looks eerily similar to Flutter. If you look at the
but it runs its Flutter engine, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like even the syntax and stuff, if you in the sample looks like Flutter.
I mean that's the idea, right? Like, this is just like a separate framework on top of the Flutter engine, right? React-like development to native. Well, it is just
What problem does it solve?
Familiar development experience,
that's true.
state management, no abstractions.
If you're looking at something, we can't see it, right? Well,
I'm just looking at the web page. I can bring it up. Should I share? I'll share.
Yeah. Sure.
I'll share.
Get this out of the way.
Yep.
There we go. Yes, this is the web Apache. Oops. Try and size everything here on my screen. So DC Flight, native mobile apps with Dart, no platform views, no abstractions. I mean, that's just Flutter, right? Like no, just pure native UI. Well, it's not native. I mean, question.
Well, if it's React borrows from, but
this is not. This is the whole point. It's using Flutter engine to do its rendering, which means it's not native UI. React like dimensions is already what Flutter offers, right? Like this basically is Flutter, right? I love that. I mean, it's a nice example and everything, but that's what I'm seeing here, right? Like, what?
It's Dart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is Dart, sure, the Dart language, but this schema, like having the fields unpress children, I mean, it's just the same thing. Like, it feels like someone's trying to steal Flutter, right? Yeah. Container component buttons, modules, 8 plus basic components, 4 plus input components, 5.
I'm still wondering the problem that it solves. What is it that doing for me that Flutter doesn't?
Yeah.
Oh, prerequisite Flutter. It needs Flutter.
Yeah.
So it's built on top of Flutter.
You can use that's what I'm trying to say. It uses the Flutter engine. So the fact is, if the syntax is similar to Flutter, I mean, it's fine. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like go for it. Look, stateful component. I mean, okay. So basically, they've come up with their own render. So the idea is that this is use state, use store. So what they've done here, I know that I see the idea behind. This is quite an interesting one, right? So they've gone with this is what they should have put on their example on their homepage, right?
Yeah.
What they've gone for here is React experience. You got the render function, you got the way that state management works and everything else, and very similar parameters and everything else to what you would see in React, but actually it's using Flutter to do all the rendering. Nice, do it.
Similar to using hooks.
To me, but it's not. That's what I'm trying to say. That's in their framework. They're using hooks.
Yeah, if you scroll, if you look at on their page, and the best of Flutter DX and React.
See, this is interesting. This doesn't make any sense to me. So look,
how can you have pure native UI and Flutter engine at the same time?
I mean, you can, but you wouldn't need to. So it kind of seems pointless. Maybe this is using it for the Dart runtime environment, to use the Dart language, but then why use the Dart language, right? Like, should we have a nosy around? Anyway, virtual. I mean, you got a virtual DOM, VDOM, reconciliation process, batched and scheduled. I mean, this is look. Only properties sent to the native bridge. They are using native components. Native views are updated with more operations. So this is React Native, and then, but I guess they get the fact they get hot reload and hot restart from Flutter. Flutter
native. Yeah, I like it.
I mean, you can do your. I tell you what you can do this right now. You could probably build your lovely liquid glass UIs.
Yeah, that would work.
I mean, this is the whole point of not doing it, right? The whole point of not using native components is to not just have the limitation of the wrappers and the native components. This is like the problem you do with the native stuff when you do this. I've seen it on the other cross-platform, is you get least common denominator. And then when you want to do custom, the amount of work you need to do is to do some custom something. And then it talks about no platform view. I mean, can't be using the Flutter engine to do any rendering then.
I want to put Matthew's comment up on screen so bad, but I don't think I can.
I mean, this is what I'm trying to say. Look, this is the component registry, shared registry. Name your custom component, and then here's the class for it. DCF components, the base. Yeah, create view, update view. So this is just like a wrapper around any sort of native views. What?
I'm sorry. Maybe if we changed Matthew's comment to say dysentery.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, if you want to use it. What do I care? It's your funeral.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, I don't understand what it does unnecessary enough.
I'll be honest, it just seems like you've got React Native already, and basically this is like, I mean, the honest words, it's like having the bastardization of like React Native and Flutter, like and Dart together, like really smushing them together real hard, trying to make it work. And I don't know what the benefits are. I'm not seeing why you would use one over the other. I mean, if there's a real thing here to get the native components, then build a native app. Why are you using Dart and any of this, right? Like the flexibility that you get from having access to all the pixels and all the rendering is a huge benefit, right?
Nice one, Marco.
Yep. Liquid Flutter.
Liquid Flutter, right? It's Flutter that just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, apparently Matthew was saying that during the announcement rollout for Liquid Glass, the play button was covering the GL.
Yeah. Yes, it said. So it said.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
That's funny.
Hopefully we won't get a strike.
That one I actually already answered.
Okay.
All right, next one. I haven't been able to get Cursor to write multiple files. I've had to create the file first and then ask for what I need. Am I missing something? I honestly don't know. I mean, it's always started with my main file.
You might need to enable like some MCP connector thing, right, to enable it to do that.
Because I haven't had to do anything. I mean, I just had an empty Flutter project. I had the starter project, and then I told it what I wanted, and it went off to the races.
You should update Cursor. Make sure you get most recent version.
Are you saying this is now working on IntelliJ, or did you have to use VS Code to get it to work?
No, I used Cursor as its own IDE. It's based off of VS Code.
Actually, while we're on that subject of AI, have you guys seen this?
Oh yeah.
I only heard about this during FlutterCon. It's Google. It's owned by Google. It's Jules. The website address I'll pop in the chat actually here. Jules.google. And it's an asynchronous coding app. Apparently works with Dart really well. And it helps you do all sorts of crazy stuff apparently. I've not tried it yet, but yeah.
I've heard of Jules, but I've not heard it with enough context to know what it was even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just
Gemini 2.5 Pro model.
Is that just? It looked to me like it was writing a few lines of code at a time rather than whole files.
No, it will do whole things. I think the idea here, like, Jules will create PRs of changes, approve the PR, merge it to your branch, publish it on GitHub. Like it's got a whole bunch of stuff it can do, but you connect it up to GitHub and you ask it to do stuff with your code. So
yeah, it's basically an agent for GitHub. So it wants to be able to edit your code based on instructions you give, and also based on scheduled activity. I think is also possible. It does by spinning up a VM. So it's actually got Linux in the cloud somewhere, running editors and activity agents and stuff. So that's what powers it behind the scenes.
GCP.
Yep.
Yeah, published by Google Labs at the moment. So it's still early days, but it sounds interesting. Like, but yeah, like bump my versions, make tests, fix a bug. Interesting stuff. Wait.
All right. So we finally have a question here that someone other than Simon might be able to answer. we get slightly advanced questions on this stream.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I apologize if this seems like a basic question, but using block, what's the best way to preserve fetch data when navigating away from a page and returning without refetching it from the API?
Stop using block.
Well, I mean, you can cache it locally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't feel so much like a block for me.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Simon. That's fine. I was just saying.
Sorry, do you want to go ahead or do you want to go? Okay.
Go on, Danielle. I know where you're going. That's where it needs to go.
What does? Sorry, what were we saying?
No, what Danielle was saying.
No, I mean, to me, this is not feeling so much like a block kind of question as anytime you're going to need to get your state from somewhere. How do you do it in such a way that you're not going to have to go recreate it again? And I mean, I don't see where that's specifically block, except for, the maybe some of the streaming kind of stuff going on where getting back to where you're asking about it. But I mean, wherever your business logic is, you're going to have to cache it somehow.
So I tell you what Scott was doing wrong. tell you what he's doing right. Is that you are on spot on there, Daniel? Sorry, just but I tell you what he's doing wrong in this case. You're wrapping your page with a block provider with a block. So when you navigate away from the page, you've lost the block that you were providing, right? The state's gone. So what you need to do is lift that state up. What you need is a block provider around your material app and provide some sort of cache or state above that. Then when your block for your page loads, it can go request for the latest, the oldest, the most recent version of that data or whatever from the other block, perhaps, or just lift up your state and have if it's something you want to persist across multiple screens or coming back and to and from the screen, then you're lifting that state up to the app level above any one page, right? It's simple, really. Putting out the block in above everything else. Before we go on to the next one.
Oh, jeez.
Before we go on to the next one, here you go.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
There it is. Nice. Yeah.
There's
Right.
like I said, there's another word for that. It's called dysentery.
Yeah.
Right. Let's move on.
All right.
Remember that from the Oregon Trail game? Yes.
Oh yeah.
You all died of dysentery.
Died of that many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, why don't you come join us on the stream? Then
Yeah.
you can answer things.
Then I can
Yeah,
go hide.
I was talking to Free too. We need to get Free on the stream. We need to get Matt on the stream again. You know, we got a pile of people we need to get on the stream.
Free should start a software company that he can call Free Software. No? Sorry, Free.
Take Randall off the stage quickly. I need to recognize an uploaded file is a USDL, like a US download. Okay. How can this be done safely? Locally hosted Olama Hugging Face model? Are there other suggestions? We use Firebase serverless environment, I think.
Oh, what is a USDL?
I think it's a United States download. I
That doesn't
think.
make any sense.
I need to recognize an uploaded file. I need to recognize USDL.
Is it United States driver's license, maybe?
Oh, could be.
Maybe. Yeah.
How can this be done safely?
Yeah.
Don't.
Seems like
Because I mean,
a lot.
that'd be personal information,
would-
so it would need to be. It would have that in there as a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, why are you going with an?
Yeah. Driver's license. He confirmed in the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm also like looking at this saying like, yeah, but
So you
Well,
you
one
got the
thing-
license, and they're going to use a model.
you use a
to confirm
Firebase
that
serverless
it's-
environment. What you do is you go find an API by a provider that actually does the verification, and then you use it.
Right.
Well, another thing that's
Why
simpler
are you
is
trying to run
instead
your
of
own-
using the front, see if they can use the back. Because the
Oh.
back has that barcode right on there, and it
Thanks
comes
for
up
sharing
with a
that.
string of all the
Thanks for sharing
information.
that, Scott.
Yeah.
That-
Now I'll have Scott's info.
No, the point.
So what are you going to
point
do?
being-
Send money to my bank account?
If only.
The point here though is why are you trying to rebuild this? Why go this?
Yeah.
Literally, it's a complex topic. You're going to cause
Yep.
yourself hassle. You're going to cause yourself time. You're going to cause yourself more expense by trying to do it yourself, and probably not do it as well and have bugs for a long period of time than to go out there and use a provider that does this.
Well,
And-
and I'm,
and
Well, here's the question, though. Does he work for a potential provider that's trying to figure out how to do this?
True, but then
well, but
There are-
Because he does say we are using Firebase serverless environment.
yeah, but, I mean, the thing I want to make sure, I mean, he's right. There's two sides to this. One is the actual determining what's on the license, figuring out how to tear the data apart, whatever. And the other is doing it in a way that you don't leak that data someplace you're not supposed to. And, you know,
so
I can't imagine anybody's going to willingly take their driver's license and put it up against a camera on a live YouTube video. but you know,
Who would do
so we
that?
need to make sure. Yes. But you know, we want to make sure they're not doing it accidentally by taking a picture with this, you know, app.
So a lot of here's the thing, right? So the terminology used for this is KYC, know your customer. There's lots and lots of providers out there that offer these services. They also check to see, like, they look at shadows and light and reflections to work out, is it real? They even take a short video clip to see if it's real. There's other ways of like dealing with it. It's like, the question is, are you just trying to like capture information off the image, or are you actually trying to verify it's real? Because there's two separate things there entirely, right? If you just want stuff off it, use OCR. You can just use the inbuilt OCR on the device for that, right? That's really neither here nor there. It just doesn't tell you it's an actual picture, right? So
I just Googled for API verify US driver license, and there's already a page and a half full of different companies that are doing this.
Oh, it's tons. There's tons.
When there's packages already. There's Reverify, which is a package for Flutter that'll do it. There's a couple others. So.
By rehuman.com. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's just like, again, one of these third-party suppliers.
Yeah.
And they're just saying, here's a package that you can just chuck into your Flutter app and do.
Yep.
So,
but I mean, I would, you know, yes, I would look at those solutions and stuff, but I would also want to try to make sure who the, you know, make sure there's nothing nefarious before.
Oh, sure. I mean, that's the point. Like, you choose, you look around and choose someone that's a company that's actually genuine. I mean, that's up to you. So if you're working with a company, that's what you need to do anyway, due diligence. But equally, you can check to see if they're actually have their various, if they're HIPAA compliant or ISO compliant or whatever the sort of degree of compliance is that you're looking for. Yeah, don't just pick some company out of like that Rehuman. I'm right now, I've never heard of them before.
Yeah, no, it's
your website has no contact information like that I can see. Like what am I looking at here, right? Like it's
right.
So it's like,
hey Scott, how would we do it if it was a credit card? Could you show us how that would work?
Well, you see, the way it would work with a credit card is I would still hold it this way, and then I would still flip it like that. Okay, so that's how that flip.
If you get the barcode strip close enough to the camera, we can scan it.
Yeah. That's why, you know, I had actually thought of that before I did it, and I'm like, you know, the resolution is so lousy when I'm small like this.
We hope.
There are
also AI enhancements, right? Machine learning.
Yeah. Matt would like you to do it with their Costco card.
Costco card, yeah.
Yeah. So just be careful about like what company you choose. But there's tons of them out there.
Yeah.
And again, it all depends on what you're trying to do, right? So.
Yep. All right. I'm still watching for more questions in the chat.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question that I was thinking about a while back. Whatever happened to Isar? Has a lot of dependencies outdated that can create conflicts with other dependencies, but it seems the author is working on Isar 4, and we need to wait for it.
No, you can go fork it and update the dependencies. Congratulations. Right? I mean,
yes, saying the dependencies are outdated.
Yeah. So this is the same. Like, let's say you've got a third-party package, and it depends on what's called a transitive dependency. Another dependent that you are dependent on, then you need to either ask them to update their dependency or submit a PR with the change to the dependency and then get updated. Or if you need it right now, right this second, you can use dependency overrides in your normal app, which is a direct thing. Now you need to check to see is it break and change or compatible or whatever. Other than that, you can just fork it in your local repository and then use a Git reference, Git reference in your pub spec to actually use your fork. You don't have to publish it. Please don't publish it. No one needs every 5 dozen versions of the same package on pub, right? Make your change that you need under your own GitHub account or organization or whatever, and just use the Git reference.
And if you can't even get a PR up or whatever, you can also file an issue against that package if you need to.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah, you can request a PR, right? So
yeah.
All right. That is Simon Binder's package. In fact, we saw him at FlutterCon, and I'm going to need to go poke him and say, "Oi, update your dependencies."
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to go poke him right now. Where is he?
Did you lose Scott?
Yeah, he's.
He gave us the.
Choose the next question, and we'll.
He had to disappear for a minute.
Oh, okay. I guess I can run the next question. Let's see here. Yeah, can I make a folder private and its files not accessed by other features, but its features? So I guess it's source code files.
Yeah.
Or make the classes private inside that folder. You only have two levels of privacy. You have public and you have library local. So you could have private classes, those begin with underscore, that's library local classes that are only accessible within that library. So that would be either typically just the single file or the file plus all the part and part of directives that are included in those. And that would be a way to make it relatively local. So your feature could be a library and only have some public entry points and then a bunch of local classes to implement it. So that'd be what I'd recommend for that. Anyone else?
No, I think that's covers it. Yeah,
Seems
there's not much to it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Next question then. Since you're back, Scott, I'll let you handle that.
Thoughts on Riverpod 3?
It's in beta. It's people are playing with it, but it's still just in beta. Don't go to production with it yet. Please test.
Has a lot changed with the API surface?
Not a lot. It's mostly backward compatible. There are a couple of discontinuities, so you can't just drop it in necessarily. Although you might have some success at that. I
thought. Sorry, I just looked at the change log. I thought, I wonder what it says in the change log. Oh my gosh, you got to see this.
Yeah. Let's see that.
It says, say hello to Riverpod 3, then it makes bigger.
And then there's just a small list down below.
And then it's like major version transitions, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God. I'm looking at the
changes.
scrolling.
Breaking.
Yeah. He's breaking everything he couldn't break in two. So it's definitely
which is why you do a major version change. Like this is
exactly
perfectly
good.
I'm just like, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
But to be honest,
it was how he handles corner cases sometimes, things like that. So it was things that kind of needed to be fixed anyway. But and there's the new features are like there's some accession for doing storage. So like providers will know how to save and restore themselves, given a storage mechanism of some kind. That's kind of nice. Well, we can do that already. You just have to write it out explicitly. Mutations also get handled better, although I don't totally understand all of that. So.
I really want to understand like this. I look at some of these lines and go, is this just not too overly complicated? Like, is it not like some simple, like a lot of this, I'm sure could be done with like some simple premises and then people build on top of them. Like the whole idea of a package normally is like a framework is to provide like a good foundation and not a solution to everything,
I think the thing is, and this is what I keep saying when I tell people why I still put Riverpod even for only one provider, is that it's handling the easy kinds of state management is easy. Anybody can do it. It's when you have to handle the weird corner case about this depends on that, but only if this is updating, that kind of complex sort of dancing, that you need something as complicated as Riverpod. And Riverpod provides a nice set of, I call them like Lego built building blocks to plug together to make up any possible system you want to make in terms of dependency, observable data. So it's just, and it's well tested too, which is the other thing. People make up their own solutions. They don't necessarily write enough tests to really cover everything. The test suite for Riverpod should be examined on its own to really understand just the depths to which Remy's been able to make sure this is a high quality and robust product.
Right. Okay. Any more questions?
We got one.
Yeah.
We have one. It's a follow-up on the driver's license. The driver's license data cannot leave the corporate boundary, unfortunately.
So
they thought to leverage an LLM, looking for advice around that by keeping the data private. So that would be why you were asking about a 100-page LLM.
There's plenty of providers that you host the stuff in your system.
Also, I want to make the point that kind of negates this whole point about using Firebase and stuff, because Firebase is
you can't do cloud. You can't do
I mean, it's
you
got to hook
it. Well, I say no. It's a corporate boundary, which might just mean like intranet, which is more. What I mean by that is like the Google Cloud Project can be protected by IAM rules. So only the corporate accounts can access them. Like you can do a lot. So even though it's hosted in the cloud, it's still encrypted at rest. So there's other things. It's more complicated than that, right? But I agree with you. Like there's a difference between having it self-hosted internally on your LAN versus in the cloud. But even if you have it hosted in the cloud, you can still impose a similar restriction set to having it access to the PC.
Yeah, at Ardley, we definitely have similar kind of rules. It's not so much the corporate side of it, but like our data cannot leave the US. Yeah. So we use AWS for a lot of stuff, and it has to be on servers that are in the US. I can't when I'm visiting, if I'm visiting Simon, I can't hop on a VPN and access it. That would violate the rules, the data. So I totally get these rules. And again, I'm happy to see places that are looking at this the right way and trying to enforce that. But and then on top of that, what Simon said about find something you can host, run inside your corporate boundary that still does it. They're still going to, if it's a known, trusted solution, it's still going to be. I would trust that more than anything you come up with yourself, to be honest. Because I know I don't know what I don't know.
Okay. We have something labeled as a question that is only a comment, but that's cool. Using Riverpod 3 in production, love the mutation and providers modifiers. No more remembering different types of family auto-dispose classes. Okay.
Yeah, the interface got a lot simpler. There's no longer like explicit classes for all the subclasses, which is one advantage. This is in response to the fact that generation is not going to get much easier, that it gets only slightly faster, but macros didn't come around. So Remy went with the alternate of just cleaning up the class hierarchy so that it's not as hard to remember.
But, I mean, regarding the KYC thing, yeah, I mean, like, you not necessarily an LLM, but you can go find yourself an AI model for like identity verification or something like that, probably something like face detection and stuff. And you can do it's really the model is not an LLM. An LLM is completely the wrong thing for that, right? Just LLMs don't solve every problem, please, people. Then what you want, I mean, the reason why you go with the KYC providers is because they're going to have trained models that they train on lots of sample data, right? And conceal the variations of such, right? To get less false positives. And I mentioned all the other stuff before. But if you want to do it yourself, then yeah, you could go run yourself an OCR model, right? Like you would have to go You can use Olama, as you said. Just get yourself a really hefty machine with a bunch of GPUs. Go for it, because it's not simple image recognition. And then you can. It wouldn't be Olama actually. It would be there's some other ones.
There's a bunch.
You can run a image recognition one and an OCR one, basically. But yeah, good luck with that. I think going down the wrong direction there.
Oh my, this is a first. We have a pause in questions.
Well, then I'm going to probably take, because I'll only get to stay for an hour, so I think I will probably take this time then I think to say bye and actually have a couple of minutes to do a couple of things before I have to get back to work. But again, it was great seeing everybody, both my friends I'm seeing in the comments and also in person. And I will be back here next week, similar time.
It was great seeing you too. Take it easy.
Take it easy. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm also going to drop. I also have some meetings to run off to, so I will see everybody again in a week. Hopefully.
See you next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
See you then, John.
Then there was three.
Number 3.
Yes.
Said
that a few times.
Shall we do? Should we just jump on some live coding and see where we get to?
Yep. We haven't even got any suggestions for live coding yet either.
Well, I was going to finish off that animate grid thing because I started.
Let's do that.
I started doing that at where was it? At FlutterCon, like doing some work on it, and I couldn't get a moment's peace. So, and I went, I'll do some more on the flight home. That didn't work out because they wanted to turn all the cabin lights off and everything because it was a night flight. So I was like, I was like, okay, well, I have to wait then.
Take it easy, Matthew.
He's good as well.
You're losing Mr. Jones.
That's it. I mean, we could always call it early if people aren't interested in live coding. Fat chance, but
I could go back to bed. That would be nice. I'm still a little fuzzy from last week. It's getting harder and harder to travel as I get older. I have discovered this.
Oh, man.
Lots of stress.
I don't know. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it
back in my day too, but I'm not the same guy I was during the .com boom.
Because I'm not as young as I used to be.
I'm not as young as I used to be. Right, exactly. It was fun.
Danny Ackerman, always love live coding. Thank you, Danny. We'll do some live coding there.
Yep.
We get to play around with render objects and maybe some custom elements today.
Yeah.
Let's see how we get to. Right. I think I'm ready. I'm going to copy what we did before. Let's get this up on screen. Share. This one. And bingo. Bingo, bango, bongo. Here we go. Now to get to work. Oh dear. Well, we're going to give our best go. Try and get it going now. We're going to time box it. We're going to go smash it for 1 hour. Hey, Roa as well. Look, Animation Roa herself has joined us.
Hey.
I'm learning from the master, Roa. Thank you for joining me. Give me all the tips you have.
Come on the stream, Roa.
You should come on the stream. Yeah, come on the stream.
We'll send you the link here.
There's no pressure. You don't have to come on, bro. If you want to, the link is in the usual spot. There. Right. Let's go with a copy of. I'll just send it to her. So, right. Anyway, 7. 2, 1. Start a new one. New date. So this is a copy of what we did before. Let's have that spin up.
Roa, check your DMs in the usual place.
see how we go. Here we go. Oh, Windows. That should still work. Let's do that.
Yes, but do you remember how the code works?
So I do indeed. So, okay, let's get rid of that Humpday banner. Right. So here's an interesting little side effect of the way we implemented this, which was...
Yep. I think he meant you're the pro, which is why we need you to come on the stream.
Look at that. Oh, it's like jelly.
Yep.
It's making me dizzy.
Yep.
Right. So that's the side effect that we don't want. So that's how we're going to resolve that as part of how we fix that. So let's discuss what we're trying to achieve and then how we're going to achieve it. So there's okay, so let's talk about this. So those that don't understand what we were trying to do, it is the solution that you could tap on an item or whatever, and it removes it and it reorders. And we have that. Look, does it? There's a really basic, simple way of doing it, but it works, right? And then if we hit our plus button down here, it will add an item at the beginning there and load up. We could actually preload those images. That also might work. Actually, I'm going to do that. Yeah,
Also, we have another. I was going to say we have a follow-up question. I'm a little bit confused though. I'm wrapping my material app with the provider. Also, I do cache it in case the internet connection is lost. I thought this was using Block, but
yeah, but you have a block provider. It's fine.
Okay.
With the provider and also cache it. Well, then you're probably what's happening is, I think you just probably debug it, put a breakpoint, debug it. I mean, if you're saying you're doing it right, yet it's not working, well, then you've got a bug, right? Right. What was it? Yeah. Pre-cache.
ROA FSG. FSG DMs.
Right. So Roa's like, I haven't been on there in ages, man. Shame.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-cache images. Right. I'm just going to do this quickly, just because it's going to bug me otherwise. So for those that don't know, you can do this. What's im? So you have there's a function called pre-cache, and then you can give it a image provider to cache. And then in this case, if we go down to actually how we're actually using it at the moment, it is a skip all the way down here. It is an inc.image, which uses a network image of the URL. So we just need to put that in there, and this becomes item in this case. And there you go. So, and what we can do is we'll say little pre-cache complete just for us for debug purposes only. Debug. And then we'll have this fold itself up into a future dot wait. And if we do this right, we should be able to take these two lines, drop them in here, like so. Oops. Okay, so what that's going to do is when the app starts up, apparently, what a pain! What a pain! That is another thing that I've always felt that's bad about this. This wants to set up the create image configuration, which wants to use a bunch of stuff from the state, which is fine, but it's just annoying because what you need to do is do this on big change dependencies, and then you need to flag it, which is it's not the worst thing. It's just annoying. If it will let me type it, would be really nice. There you go. And then we just need to flag this on. So we just say something like, we'll pre-cache the future. So we'll just do something like future void nullable. Sure. And we just do this. And so what that's going to do now is that little operator is just basically saying only if the left-hand side is null, call the right-hand side. And this way it's only going to make the future once the first time did change dependency is called. So that now, if I hit plus, those images don't blink because they've already been loaded.
Nice.
Yeah. So there you go. So I can hit plus, add more images in, and they don't flash a blank, space as they do. Cool. So that works. All right. Back to where we were.
While we're at a quick pause. Any recommended books for programming paradigms? Define paradigms for one.
I think he means like patterns.
Patterns, yeah.
Paradigms is 20 cents, 2 dimes.
I mean, what's the one you had, the modern version of design patterns one?
It's Head Start Design Patterns.
That one. There you go.
That's the one that it's much more a type of book that you read as opposed to a reference. Gang of Four is a reference.
It's
But,
also Gang of Four.
Also,
the original design pattern book of Gang of Four is called the original is called Gang of Four. It's got 4 authors. It's written in 1977. So its terminology in the writing of the book is a bit outdated. Like they say message when you talk about one class communicating with another. So that you have to take it with a pinch of salt. But all the stuff in there all works still. All the patterns make sense. So if you want to go look at the original book, go right ahead. But it's not.
Also, I am putting a link. That is a link to a Head Start Design Patterns. This is a YouTube playlist from a guy who's really good. You're either going to love his style or hate it. I love it. It's fun. But it goes through all the design patterns in the book, and he simplifies some of the explanations, some of the examples. But it's a good time and very educational. So that link is right there in the chat. And
yeah, I see.
Real quick.
All right.
For anyone who is watching this later and maybe not able to see the chat, search for Christopher Okravi. I'm sorry, well, yeah. Right there. Search for him on YouTube. You'll find a whole lot of great stuff. Hey.
So, also there was a comment here as well, which we should jump into, which was widget previews upcoming Flutter. Yes, it's this. It's a new widget class called preview. Drop that in the chat. And this is it. This is the way it's stable. Will change. Just don't depend on it. But yeah. So apparently they got a whole new preview thing. I don't know how this is working, how it works into the tooling, but my guess is you should be able to, if you do this, then these essentially become implementations of your widget that you can then look at inside maybe the editor and stuff and things like that. But it's kind of nice, like the idea that you can essentially annotate with the various ways you want it to work. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. Right, let's get back to this because we need to get back to code.
1 second. We have Aroa who has just made it through all the technical difficulties to be here with us.
Oh.
Hello.
Hey, do we still need the banner down here right now, cutting us all off?
There
we go.
I need that.
Welcome, Ra. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you all doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, not a problem. Glad to have you.
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Oh, sure. Hi, I'm Roa. I'm a Flutter dev, I think, for quite some time now, and I'm very happy to be here. You might know me from Twitter, from the good old days when it was Twitter, and it was nice to be there. But yeah, I miss those days, and yeah, from some conferences and some upcoming conferences as well.
You're going to be in Berlin, yes?
No, unfortunately not, even though I live in Berlin, but I will be out of the city, but I will be in Flutter and Friends in Stockholm. In August.
Oh.
So hope
That's in September also. They're both in September.
Yeah.
Right.
So hope you all can make it as well to Stockholm. It's always a fun conference.
I wish. It's my favorite.
Yes, it's all of us' favorite.
So hey mate, so is Flutter and Friends and FlutterCon overlapping then?
No. Flutter and Friends is August 31st, and FlutterCon is September 26th.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, cool.
23rd to 26th.
You had me worried there for a second. All right, anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Latam is also in September. That's in Ecuador.
That would be a nice trip to like go back and forth.
Be an expensive trip.
Yeah.
Anyone have $10,000 to get rid of? I'll be happy to take it.
Right, what were we doing? We were trying to do some coding, right?
Some animation that I was summoned for.
Let's do some animation. So, all right. So the problem we've got here is like the trick that we've done at the moment. So we want to animate the image grid, right? So you can scroll this, by the way. This is like scrollable. We can add or remove items. So we've got a little bit of minutia around here just for our demonstration purposes of like adding and removing and like, I don't know, just maintaining that list. But right now we depend on Layout Builder. Not tragically bad, but we're just doing this so that we can then inject a stack of children, and that stack predefines the height. Now, what we're essentially doing here is doing layout during build, which is not what you're supposed to do, right? So this kind of defeats the purpose. So we need to move this into its own layout. That's step one. Also, what's happening right now is we pass the position to grid item, and grid item has an animated position from rect, which is nice. This is what provides us this like moving rectangle. So when we add an item and they all shift around and move, it's because each time it rebuilds, we're calculating a new rectangle, passing it to the grid item, right? That's what this is calculated, where it should be now based on its index. And then that grid item is then saying, okay, animate rectangle, here's your new rectangle that you should be rendered at. And it will move it, which is what we want. But what we don't want is all of the side effects that we're getting with this right now, which is when you resize, we just want it to resize. We don't want it to animate its size, right? The animation is purely on its motion from its previous location, which should have been, to its new location, which should be. So it's kind of it's almost like a what's the word? Oh, good question, Simon. We have where they should be, their natural position, which is this, and then we have their position that should be if they're being animated. The way this works, the reason why this works so well is that each child is in control of its animated, its position, its animation. So there needs to be, but that rectangle, as we're saying, we want to change, but not based on. It needs to be based on the actual animation taking place and not on the actual layout of the widget. So there's slight subtle differences there, but it means that you can then do things like we could do some things like when you could pick up and drag an item, and when you pick up and drag it, you could then move to the left, let's say, and then they'll all reorientate around the spare space that you've got for the one that's missing. Things like that, which are, I think you might have seen that if you've got like a vertical list and you want to drag an item and they kind of move out the way for the new item to be dropped in. You can do that kind of cool stuff. So, so that's one piece of this. Now, as I said, at the moment, we're laying them out based on even the ones off the screen are being laid out based on this big stack. So essentially what we've got here is a big stack in a single child scroll view. It's a big hack, and this wouldn't work if we had a large number of items, because we're basically just building and rendering them all. So what can we do in terms of making it recyclable, making it, use the builder pattern, slivers and such like? So there's two kind of things here. One is how we improve this, and then the second one is how do we make it recyclable. We're probably going to get one of those done today, and we'll choose the first one right now. But then we can maybe look at upgrading this to slivers, having it recyclable. I think this is kind of common thing that I want Flutter to do as well, and it just doesn't kind of do out the box. So I feel like this is maybe something that we could foster a bit longer than just having it as a live kind of thing. Maybe we can kind of push us back to the Flutter team. Maybe we could look at doing that as well, and see if we can get a formal representation of it in the framework. Which these are the kind of things that make Flutter worth. When I remember when I got Flutter, and it just magically did the hero and a hero transition and all this kind of stuff, and it's what really gives you that kind of, wow, it just worked. It did what I wanted out of the box. When you have to do this bit, go to this extra length, then it becomes why it feels like I'm working against the framework almost, right? You're working, if you do it right, you're working with the framework, but it's also it does feel like there's maybe something here that should come out of the box, like widgets being able to understand their position and choose to move around or reorientate properly, which I think maybe if we could do this right, we could maybe treat it as more like a wrapper, and maybe there's a layout algorithm here that could be, if we abstract it out a little bit, then maybe we could say, okay, you can apply this to any set of widgets in any sort of way. It doesn't have to be a grid, right? So let's first step first. So we need to take our current layout builder out of the equation and do the layout inside a render object. Then, so for those that don't understand how a position, so let's look at. I'm just going to show the content of a position widget for a second, right? So for those that don't know, you can put actually I'm going to put this inside. Let's do a. Where's my stack here? Right, let's do this. Whoops. Hello, thank you. And we're going to do add a position in here, and we'll have a what do I want? Something on the screen. Icons dot. Yeah, little snow star. Left.
Get it. Cool.
Okay, and then we're going to make it bigger, of course. Boom. Right. So there's our position thing. Now we can change this to 100 by 100, right? There it is. So what we're doing is we're saying top left 100 by 100, position this in there. Now, but what position is actually doing is the bit that's magical here, right? If we go look at what it is, it's actually inheriting from parent data widget, right? Parent data is how the parent widget in render object terms, each child of a render object has parent data attached to it. It's a piece of glue data that can be attached between a child and its parent to give metadata about that relationship, right? So in this case, stack parent data is the one that stack uses, and it has these parameters. So each child has a top, left, bottom, right, width, height, right? And then you can get a relative rect based on those. Set it, is it positioned? And then there's a couple of helper methods here, right? But basically, it's just about storing these fields so that there's state per child, right? So container, the container project render object mixin and container parent box parent data are a pair of classes that you can use in render objects to add this relationship for you and do all the boilerplate. You used to have to do this manually. They brought it out into some mixins and various things to just really help with managing that relationship, but really it's kind of done for you. So if you deal with render boxes, which is not slivers basically, then its box parent data is the base, and this gives the offset. So this is what stores the XY position of a child in its parent. This is that where it stores that data. And then parent data itself is just the base class for all this parent data relationship. And it has a nice detach, when it's been removed. But that's kind of like where it boils down to. So if I come back to where we were, what position is just doing here is it's applying the parameter we supply here to the relationship inside stack to its child icon. And we're just doing it through the widget tree to provide the configuration. And so if you actually look at this, the parent data widget, all it does inside, if I can find it. There you go. So I'm not going to go into like the detail of how it notifies, but basically this is essentially what it boils down to, which is it does update parent data. And that's literally how it goes into the system and just does apply parent data to the widget for the render object. And so this is the function that's overridden. So it just allows the when the elements are updated, they update the render object's parameters. All right, back to here. What we're going to do is something similar and have our own custom relationship, allowing us to track the rectangle that we want each one to be in, or the index, or something like that. All right, so let's we're going to have to change things up here a little bit. Yeah, all right, so first things first, let's all right, okay, let's do it this way. Let's do animated, we'll go first. Animated grids. I can't remember what I called it. Grid items. What was it called? I don't know. I'm just going to recreate things. Going animated image grid. Animated. It's a image grid. We don't care that the images. We'll just do it. Yeah. Okay. So we'll do an animated grid. We'll call it animated grid. Let's call it animated grid. This is our top level, and then we're going to have.
That was not the same because that had the I and the T capitalized. So I don't think that was the same class. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Okay, good. Because I've just.
You don't want it to be the same class.
No. All right. So we'll have an animate grid. We'll want a class. So one of the nice things that a little cheat code that I do when I come into the solution is custom multi-child layout is the base class for similar things, but it doesn't give you access to all the things that we need. So I'm just going to use this as a base foundation, right? So we want to inherit from multi-child render object widget, right? Well, we're going to need two functions in here for getting where we need to go. We're going to see the children. Just avoid having to do that. We need our own render object. So we're going to, again, use this as the base. Saves me from just doing some typing. And we're not having, at the moment, we don't have any sort of parameters to update. So I'm just going to comment those out. And then this class is going to be, the standard practice is to prefix with render with the widget name. So this is a render animated grid as the render object. Now, where are we here? And then
line 196 and 197. Yes or no?
Yeah. What about it?
Okay, so you don't want those being rendered. Okay.
196 and 197.
Yeah, they say animated grid. I wasn't sure if you wanted render animated grid.
No. That's this. This is passed down here.
Something else.
So render is the prefix that all render objects get with their widget, basically.
Right.
Just to kind of just convention. You don't have to. And then we need our own parent data for the relationship. So we'll add a little class in for that. We'll call it animated grid parent data. Not going to use an ID for that. We'll add some more to that maybe in a minute. Right. What are we missing here? Right. So, okay. So we got some children. So for those that don't understand this, so the children that passed into the widget are actually, they're not actually passed over to the render object. That's the job of the element tree, right? So if we look at what's going on inside here, inside the parent class that we're from, we create this element which is called a render child, multi-child render object element. And the key thing here is that this actually is the bit that actually takes the children and then manages which ones it should insert, which ones it should move, which ones it should update, how it visits them, how it forgets them. This is the thing that you don't know when they get mounted to the UI. This is the bit that actually joins the render tree to the widgets, right? That's the element tree, and we don't want to have to fool around with that if we don't need to, right? There's some benefits to doing so if you do need to, but most of the time you don't need to. Right. So we want to use this animated grid parent data. So there's a function that you need to override called setup parent data. This is how a render object gets to sort of set up its own types. In this case, you say if child.parent data is not an animate one, then it should now be one. So because it may have persisted a previous parents and parent data. So the idea here being that if it's not the type that you're looking for, then you can create an empty one or whatever your initial state is. You can see here the default is very similar to that. We're not going to call the default, but I just want to kind of show you that that it is basically the same. The covariant parameters are actually meant to be, these are your render objects. So in this case, it's be a render animated grid. Right. So that gives us one step further. So if we want to actually have an object that renders, by the way, again, so just to be clear, you'll see most render objects take children. That is not actually used in most situations. So the default is not to pass, this is going to be null. It's only if you want to build a tree of render objects yourself or some other snazzy thing. For the most part, this is like dead code. Don't even worry about it. Like supplying it that way. This whole delegate thing is what custom layout does. We don't care about any of that. All we care about is these functions down here, these last three functions right now, which is how we do layout and what we do when we need to paint and what we need when we do hit testing or interacting with them. So the mixins provided, the render box contain defaults mixin actually gives us defaults for paint and hit test. So we don't have to worry about that, which is brilliant. So we get the default behavior done. All we care about is layout, right? So what we're going to do with layout. So the only requirement for layout to work is that you must set size to the size of the widget after layout is complete, however big it needs to be. In this case, we could actually do constraints.biggest, which gives us the biggest size, biggest X width and height that fits within the constraints provided. So constraints are your input to layout, and then your output is size, right? So now what we want to do is go back up to our layout here and work out what we're actually trying to do, and then sort of rejig this to happen during layout normally, right? So in this case, I take the width and height of the input constraints and divide it by 3 to give our 3x3 matrix. We may want to work that on aspect ratio. We're talking originally the idea, actually remembering this now, the original idea was to have varying size of children, which you can do. Probably not going to do that right now today, but you definitely can do that because that's just about changing your layout algorithm, right? Once we've got this in layout, then it's just about picking which child you put where, right? So now we get our width and height. We're going to call this child width and child height because that's what they are. Be a little bit clearer about what they are. All right. Then what's next? Where am I? Right. So this goes through a series of widgets and looks at the index and uses that to determine what position should be on the screen. Again, no problem. We can do that. So the way that render objects work is they actually have only two defined parameters, which is first child and last child. These are all that a render object knows about, right? First and last, and it uses a linked list to actually achieve the set of children. So child before one child is you go through the list and find the previous sibling from parent data and next from the parent data. So this is how the list is created. However, you can do some really clever things. So in this case, I actually want to, this is some of the inbuilt stuff in render object. It's not in here. So one of the ones that our container one gives us somewhere in here, I believe, is, see if I can find it. Add all, remove. This allows us to like work with children, like, so we don't have to do all this code for us, right? The time I want to find it, I can't find it. I know it's there. I'll just type it in, which is get children as list. I'm gonna go find out where it is. Yeah. Oh, it's on the defaults. Of course it is. So what this is doing here is it takes the first child, loops around each sibling, and finds and basically builds up a list of children from that based on index. Now you could just do this in a loop. You don't have to do it this way, but it's nice to actually deal with a list. So I'm going to say children. Cool. So now we can say index. So that what layout needs to do is call layout on each of the children, right, and return the size. You don't have to lay out each, technically speaking, you don't have to lay out each child, but then you can't paint the children. Then there's some other things that children can't then, if it's not going to get laid out, it shouldn't be attached to the render tree. But yeah, anyway, what am I doing here? Index is less than or equal to children.length index plus, right? The final child is children I. Okay, so now, I index. So now we have the index in which child we're looking at, and then the actual child render box. So that would be whatever the child tree is. So we don't care if it's a picture or whatever, right? All right. So back up to where we were. We're going to work out our rectangle. So let's grab these. No, do you know what? Let's grab these. So X and Y. We already have the width and height as our child width and height. So now we've got X and Y, which is just our index modulus 3. So going across, and then the divide by 3 going down. So now we just need to work out what the position is and set it on the child. So we need to set that offset in the parent data. So we can say child parent data, but we now need to cast it as our parent data, which is, what do we call it? It was animated grid parent data. And then we can set that offset of where the widget is within its parent. And then what happens is when you go to paint will go look at that offset and use it to paint the child in the parent position, in the correct parent position. So all offset is doing in this case is telling it where it needs to paint, right? There's no magic here, right? And this would be X, Y. All right, so now we've got oh, this isn't actually quite right. So that we also need to lay out the widget. We're gonna set this into a function just because it reads better. Set child position, sure. Render box child double X double Y. Okay, just slightly nice reading of what we've already got here. So we also need to lay out the child, right? So child.layout, and this is where it takes constraints. So we're going to fix our constraints. Every child's going to be the same size in our example, but you wouldn't have to do that. Put child constraints. I make a box constraints that are typed fit, i.e. they must be this width and height, child width, and child height. So child doesn't get to decide its size, it's being forced into this particular width and height. So we're going to tell this layout, and we have to tell it that the parent needs the size. Actually, we don't need to say that because we're forcing it. So I'll avoid that because it's slightly more performant. So these actually return back doubles. Sorry, these return integers. We actually want doubles. So we'll just do this just to shortcut my life. And then, actually, same. We don't need that. It's the index by child width. So it should mean that we don't need to do that. Okay, so all right, let's go back to this. So what this means is we do the layout, divide the width and the height by 3, work out this child size of one of those sizes. We get the child list, go through each one, get that child, work out based on its index where it should be positioned on the screen, and position that child and on that position, right? So let's go back up here. So let's get rid of our positioned. Don't need that anymore. Keep our children. So the width and the height of our actual widget that we want it to be is actually this big. So let's go and make sure that we're actually representing that correctly. So its size is going to be, the width is going to be constraints dot max width, and then the height is going to be it'd be the index, it'd be the length of children by child height. Okay, that's how big it would be for all the children, not just 3, not just the 9, but all of them, right? All right, so now we've done this. This is gonna treat this as just the layout for a minute. So back up to our widget. So we can't use animate position anymore. We don't need that rectangle anymore. We're going to replace it anyway, so that's fine. Animation curve and stuff, we will come back to what that means in a minute. Let's place it in here. We need a key on each one, and we'll put that here. Let's get rid of this widget. All right, so each one of these is going to be a material with a key, color black, sure. And then in our single child scroll view, we're going to have our animated, what I call it, animated grids layout, sure. And that's going to have our children, and our children are going to be our existing data item listed layout, and we're going to put a grid. I actually don't need a key. Look at that. We've got a key here. We need it indexed. Sure. Why not? Here you go. We'll have index item. We don't need that anymore. Means we just don't need those. We don't need the stack anymore. Okay. And then all of this now becomes defunct. Our layout builder can be removed. All right, so we have our scaffold with a single child scroll view, with our animate grid layout, with the children that are grid items, and they're going to have some various properties, whatever they are. I think that's it. Let's restart and see what happens. Kaboom. What do we break? What do we break? Let's have a look.
Render something. Something render.
Interesting.
Whoa.
Render physical model is not a subtype of animated grid layout of child. Set up parent data. Ah. That's my bad. Try it again. Right, restart. What do we break now? So look. Box screen forces infinite height. Okay, so width 192, infinite height. Ah, you know why? Because okay, so this is because we placed our animate grid layout in a single child scroll view, and the scroll view doesn't have a height, right? So it is actually give our layout's been given infinite height, which doesn't work. So we have an option. We can resolve this, and this is why we do normal scrolling. I think what I'm going to do is make them force them into aspect ratio for the moment, just to make life easy, and then we'll come back and sort it out, because we'll sort it out with change it to slivers anyway. So we'll say is child width times 1.5. Yeah. Let's restart. Oh no, still got another issue.
Don't you need to remove the single child scroll view?
No. Okay, we're going out of range. Oh, less than or equal to. Dot. Restart again. There we go.
Yay.
So this is good. So we have a scrolling list in a grid, and if I tap an item, it disappears. There you go. And if I plus, it adds an item, and they're keeping their positions and everything else, and it all works just fine. So no, do not use media query size of height. No.
Never.
So look, I appreciate that. So this is this comment here. I'm just talking about this. I appreciate this comment. The problem is now what you've just done is saying I always wait 1/3 of the screen height. Right? It's, well, my view, I don't want to fix the height. Right? The height should come from the content itself. Right? If anything. Now, obviously, in this situation, you're saying that if I wanted to be exactly 1/3 of the height of the screen, sure. But then when I add a banner to the top, or what I think suddenly that all goes off. It's not 1/3, right? So you never treat your UI should always be reactive to its parent, and never escape that to the screen. So the screen size should not come into anything to do with your layout apart from its outside size. Full stop. Right. So I see that quite a lot. It wasn't directed to you, but I see that quite a lot, and it is one of those things that people kind of get wrong. All right, so I can resize now. Yeah, and we're getting, they're not jumping around like they did before, which is kind of nice, right? But we're still not animating them. So we need to do, let's have a think about what we're trying to do here. So when an item goes into the list, at the moment we base the rectangle that it's being rendered at based on its index in the children. I mean, it works. However, what's actually going to happen right now is that the key is forcing a new child to be inserted at the front. So these children are the same child objects that they had before. The indexes don't change. But we do kind of want to keep a reference to them. So let's think about this. We want to have more like a map. So when an item's inserted, we're saying, here's your new data. This is your new position. I mean, we could do something which is each object contains its index and the index it should be at. That's not a bad shout, actually. You could do something like have a function that returns back a rectangle based on index, and then you can look at where any object should be based on index. Let's try that. Index. I feel like we should base it off like ID or something. All right. I mean, we can do. Well, we can use our own. We can do our own parent data option. Right now, we've got our own parent data. We can actually take advantage of this, right? So we've got animated parent data, grid parent data here. So if we have something like, can we just wrap this in a parent data widget? I don't think you can. No, parent data widget has to be typed. Yeah, abstract. Okay, so all right, let's make another widget then and call it. I guess we want for each child. What do we need for what is the state for each child? It's last index, it's new index. All right. So let's do this. We'll have a animated grid item parent data widget. Grids. What was it? What do we call it? Animated grids. Animated grids. Parent data. This should. We can have whatever parameters we want. Debug typical ancestor widget class. I have no idea what that is. Let's go find out. Check if the widget can apply its parent data to the provided render object. Okay, so we need the type that we expect it to be part of, which is animated. So the widget class, it wants the widget class. So that'd be this one. So if we go look at positioned, it should show stack, right? Oh, look. Blah, 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 blah. Apply debug stack. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, let's go back to where we were. Let's get rid of all that. Right, so, and the parameter that we want to supply what was that? Item ID. We'll just use ID for now. So apply render object. I'm assuming this will be the render object that we actually for the child. So parent data as animated grid parent data. All right. And then we need to add an ID parameter to our, which I removed earlier. Debugging that, why not? What was the other one? It was I could go find out. I was kind of curious what they were doing. Not that one. That one. Yeah, this is doing an object. We'll do. We have strings. It's fine for now. All right. So now we've got an animated grid item. Why is that? Sure. Yeah. Right. So animated. So we could have grid item. Could essentially it's like this, right? Just like positioned, right? And we put our ID in there, which is item at the moment. But that's a good question. Let's put it on here, and then I'm going to put this on the inside, because grid item is always going to be used inside one of these grids. We don't need that key anyway. That was in the wrong place. Right. Okay. So this. All right, so each one of these is child data. Right. So gave an ID so we can like keep track of these. And then we want where we need to be positioned. So there's one thing here, right? We can set up one timer. One ticker for the entirety of the grid view, and have the ticker. So I'm just thinking about this. Doesn't really make sense. I guess there needs to be it's better that each child tracks its own like animation control and everything else. Just for simplifying this. Right, let's just rebuild, make sure we're not broken anything we haven't. Good. Yeah, actually still work. Cool. Cool. Math is hard, yeah? Math is hard. What I'm just thinking about is we talked about this before. It's about finding what rectangle we want the animation to, where we want the grid item to be. And it needs to be told that by its parent. So I'm just trying to work out, maybe we can use the parent there to hold a value notifier or something, which kind of it's kind of mixing. The problem is we're kind of mixing the trees now. All right, let's carry on here. So I'm thinking maybe we can break this down a bit further. All right. So if we can get the list of children, if they haven't Sorry, I'm trying to format some ways that we could do this, right? Let me explain what we're trying to do. Maybe that helps. So the idea being that I would say we use the ID to track the widgets, but actually maybe the index makes more sense. So at the moment, the index denotes where it is on the screen, where it's positioned on the screen. We're using the implicit index of the children. We could read the order of the children. It's fine. We could use that. That the order of the children is actually provided by the elements. So the whole keying system in Flutter will automatically provide the right ordering there. So because we have a key up above, because we have a key on our grid item, and that's the direct child of the animate grid layout, they'll all maintain the correct positions. So we just need to maintain, when we insert an item, what was the old index in the list and what is the new index in the list. If it didn't have an index in the list, then its rectangle is set as is. If its index has changed, then we say go to the new rectangle, animate to the new rectangle. This way, when you resize the view, indexes are maintained. It doesn't try and animate the rectangles. If you delete one, then okay, now the index of that child is now changed because it's been moved, and therefore
you're building a version of animated list. Might it be good to look at that source code to see how they do it?
Animated grid view, you mean?
Animated list view. Animated list view.
So look, I know, well, animated list.
It is, right.
Hold up. I'm not.
They're probably doing the same thing to get the ability
not
to move
really terribly interested in what they were doing here. If I remember rightly, it's not. Okay. I don't like it.
Just a suggestion, you know.
No. We'll have a look. I will have a look. We're going to get in the weeds here, though. That's the thing, right? I think sliver animated multi-box adapter.
Going to get.
See, this is where they're tracking the incoming items, outgoing items, active items. Index to item index. I remember rightly, the whole idea of actually having to do this properly was that you needed to do controller. It was like a controller insert item, right? To get it to animate, and you had to do a controller. Was it remove item or something? I can't remember what it was. Yeah, remove item.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, they don't animate. So you had to kind of do this like implicit yet explicit kind of behavior. Wouldn't it be really nice to be able to just have this implicitly behaved? Like, yeah, don't know what they're doing. I mean, to magically just work. Right, where were we? Right, yes. So parent data will have int last index I suppose it'd just be index. It'd be the current index of it. And if it differs from the new index, then we're saying, go do this thing. Okay. What we could do, what did I do before? I did something interesting like this before. What did I do? It was multi-selects. I think I did some custom element stuff. Let me have a quick look. So we'll find it quickly. User. Multi-select. Multi-select grid view flutter. That was it. Let's hold up. Here's one I made earlier. When was this? 10 revisions. As we do this. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just kind of curious. When did I actually? It doesn't give you. It does. Hey,
is there a date somewhere? There is.
2019. Yeah.
2019. Wow, that's ancient.
Amazing.
But it doesn't run anymore.
I think it does. I've been keeping it. I was keeping it up to date for a while, but like, it's only when someone comes to me and says, "Ain't no work."
Is that pre or post null safety?
Really post, I think. Great. 2019 though. That's
no, probably pre. I think 2019 is when I started using Flutter.
Yeah, but this is the last update was 2022.
Okay.
So I think I already updated because I'm not seeing any like null safety stuff going on in here. Now, what was I doing? Looking through here, trying to find
saving the ID or index.
You're following the laser pointer.
Like a cat.
Yep, exactly.
Multi-select grid view. That's what I did. So like, yeah, so I did this. I actually created a custom element. And I had the elements keep track of the relationship between the children and the parent. Yeah, so this is what I ended up doing here. I did a proxy widget and a proxy element. And the only idea was this, is when it was mounted, it would go find the grid view it was mounted to and add itself to it. And when it's unmounted, it removes it. So this way, all these widgets register themselves with the state of the grid view. It's exactly that. It's a proxy widget.
Oh, come on.
I think I don't actually know what the I mean, it's a widget that doesn't actually provide any of its logic. It proxies it on. So I'm kind of like, let's see what it actually says inside of the official documentation. Yeah, a widget that has a child widget provided to it instead of rebuilding a new widget. Widgets like widget parent data, inherited widget. It's basically like it's a widget that's not a widget. How can I explain it? The idea is that it doesn't have any substance itself. It just provides access. Would that be the best way of putting it? I don't know what actually proxy element says.
Oh. It just doesn't have a build method.
Sorry?
So it doesn't have a build method like a regular widget.
No.
So what is it doing there? It's using another widget that's passed to it, right?
Yeah, it proxies from one to the other, right? Like it just sits in the middle. It doesn't actually do anything, but allows you to override certain behaviors or do certain things. So in the case of my example here with a multi-select, The idea of using this before was just so I can override an element in the element tree. So this allows me to effectively inject an element into the element tree, right? At this point where this widget's being used. And then that element, I'm just looking into when it gets mounted and unmounted, right? So I'm not actually, again, changing any sort of behavior. Anyway, so I think I'm just trying to think about if we could do this or something similar. Yeah. I mean, I posted this in the chat if people want to. Should we see if this works? Okay enough. Should we just see if this works? Let's find out.
That would be great.
Okay. Let's see what bugs we have today. Okay. So I can update the gist. Accent color is gone. That's fine. We don't need that. Actually, we can generate this from what's it? The scheme, right? Color scheme, color scheme dot from swatch, primary swatch, indigo, accent color. There we go. What else? Example screen. Yes, because sure. What else do we have in here? Is it all just like key? All those old uses of key before super was added. This is not actually, there's only that one error, which was with the, these are just improvements. They're not actually like functionally changing anything. So I think we might be in luck. Oh no, I've said it now. Right. Is that it? No more warnings? All right. Let's try running it then. Debug. Is that running on? Oh, it's running on Windows. Somewhere around Windows. Apparently, it will work on Windows. There you go. So this is one of those things like photos. You can click, select, and drag your mouse, and it will select all the widgets, but even the ones that haven't been created yet off the screen. And if I scroll down, this is all with slivers, right? And if I scroll up on the bar, they all maintain the selection state, even the ones off screen. It doesn't look like much, but it's one of those things where how do you do this kind of like neat effect and have it work together, right? Yeah. So that's what this whole thing is doing here. It's just as like a test, right? So multi-select grid view, and then you put whatever item build you want in there, however you want to lay it out, and it will just do it. And then, yeah, the item builder tells you if it's selected or not. Index. So just trying to like simplify that. Anyone can just drop that widget in and get that effect, right? All right, back to where we were before we went off on a tangent. I'm trying to think about like we basically want to do a similar thing, right? And that's what I'm just trying to work out how, like, where each widget has its own. The way effectively doing it right now is each widget has its own animation. The complexity comes in this, in that the is that we try and do it based on layout and position. So it's not the child that determines that, it's the parent. And let me update the gist while I'm here. Yeah, I posted the gist link in the chat, didn't I? I don't remember if I did. I posted in the chat anyway, so anyone that wants it, let's update this one. All right, back to this. All right, what's those 8 seconds? Okay, it does definitely feel to me like there's a sorry, I'm not finishing my sentences, and people, and my brain's on autopilot. Let's take, so we can do two things here, right? So the position of everything is actually just to do with rendering, right? As I said before, like by default, the paint is just taking that offset and painting at that position. We can animate that from all. We can have all these. Well, I mean, I can show you. In fact, let's do something strange right now to show how this works, right? Why not? So when our so when a render object is attached, I have no idea why it's not there. I've seen this before from the IDE. Just sometimes just doesn't let you do like the auto kind of override, right? No methods were found to override like that one out. I think it's because this is too complicated for it to like understand. Hang on. So look, no, I don't know, maybe just gave up. Are there bugs? No, there's no bugs. Should be fine. Restart the analysis service if that helps. All right. Well, they are definitely there. Right. Void detach the.
Super detach. Super detach.
Okay, so when our render object gets attached to the render object tree, we can start up a ticker. What is the best way of doing this? I guess we want to ticker provider. Yeah, okay, let's do it this way. This is probably a bad idea, but we're going to do it. Where's layout? Oh, it's not stateful. And we can do it. We'll do it through here. We'll say with single ticker provider state mixin. Oh, we don't need ticker. If we're not going to do, okay. Do I want to do this? I think I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it the naughty way. Don't do what I'm doing.
Don't try this at home.
Right.
These are trained professionals typing right there. Ooh, yeah.
Basically, what I'm doing. what I'm doing here is just avoiding the whole ticker provider piece. It just means you can't override the ticker mode and some other things, but it's fine. It works. It'll work for my little example at least. Stop. Yep. So a ticker, for those that don't know, a ticker is a way that you capture the frame rendering. So a tick goes for each frame that's being rendered for the most part. So in this case, this callback on tick is going to give us, and it's going to call this function once per frame with a elapsed time since we started the ticker, right? Now what we could do is we do a couple of things here. So what I'm actually going to do is have it. I'm going to do something fun. Should we do something fun? Let's do something fun. Let's have it so to make all the children jiggle around on the screen. This is probably be really horrible. Let's find out.
Sure.
So if we want to have we want it to like feel random, but also behave. What's the word? Consistently. You can use a pseudo random number generator and use our elapsed time as our way of having a different seed each time. I'm going to think you can lapse it from actually saying that. No, we could do it based on time. Let's do it based on time. Time and index. All right. So we want to loop over each of the children. Do that. And then for each child, based on its index, we'll change its offset. So we'll say set child position, get the child. And then I guess we can get the current position of the child as well. So child parent data. Let's just, this kind of feels a bit pointless, this function now. So let's, because we want to get the child parent data and actually modify it. So we'll say. I thought it was a shift on translate. And we'll do a 10 pixel jiggle. 10 pixel jiggle. Oh, this is going to, it's a nice way of doing this. Base it off of time. I want to do a modulus then. He's going to jiggle diagonally.
Just use a tween, right?
You know, well, this is the point, right? Hang on. This one I'm just trying to show off, like this is what tweens do, right? Tweens effectively change a bunch of parameters and end up with changing some parameter that then paints it, right? Mark needs. Up it goes. My translate is bad.
Could you use lerp?
No, I know. No, that's fine. You don't need to use lerp. But what I'm mistakenly doing is adding all the time. What I need is actually this, which is rect for child. This is what I was saying earlier. Give an index and get like what that child index should, what the child rectangle should be. So return. We're forcing the children to be a certain size. Ah,
2.5 hours. Still, you know, gives you.
Yeah. Well, there's never enough time. Never enough time.
You always bite off these huge chunks of things to write.
But it's fun.
I know.
Construct doesn't exist. Fine.
Yep. And that should be understand. All right. Rect for child. Let's do this. Say, constraints.
So, Roa, how have you been? You haven't said much of anything since you came on.
I was just enjoying watching Simon go with the stuff.
I was wondering when he was going to let you have a say.
No, I mean, I told you, you're the pros. I don't, and I haven't been like a lot involved with this stuff recently, but I'm back to it now. So I've been away.
Glad to have you back.
Unfortunately, yeah. Thanks.
All right, let's try this. So, right.
Yes, free. You're correct.
Always.
I can't tell if they're moving or not.
Whoa.
I don't think they are. Which
there's something moving on the screen. Oh no, it's your background. Looks to like be boosting.
Let's get some random in here. Some random in here. Random. This is a bad idea. Not so much a bad idea because nothing's happening.
Is that even getting called? Is that code? Can you set a breakpoint, see if it's reaching it?
It's definitely getting called.
Okay. Just checking.
No, we have a. Does not only. No, it's fine. It's because we're getting this. I'm trying to access the constraints before we have constraints. Basically, is what's coming down.
Good.
Before layout, I'm just trying to see if there's a nice way of can I tell? Is there a condition? That would be really helpful. All right, we're just going to look for state error. That's what we're going to do. And then just report 0. And then just a little get out clause here. So let's do this and say try. Turn.
Whoa.
It works.
Whoa.
It works.
Jeez. Turn away from the screen if you have the trigger.
Sensory warning. It's
There you
like
go.
it's like what the apps do on the background when you like hold.
The widgets are scared. Widgets are really scared.
Widgets, scary widgets. That's what you could call this one. Scary widgets.
Yeah. Anyway, but the point being that like we can choose at any point to position them wherever we want, and so the idea being here is that we can animate this offset. We can animate this offset and have them. What's that? Yeah. Don't do it. Don't like, no. Set. They don't last very long. One more.
No.
Oh. No?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna park it here because we were going on long enough. I really want to let's do another. Let's try and plan for another stream. Let's try and do another stream where we can just do some live coding.
Yeah, I'm up for that. I've got flexible schedule, so let me know.
I will post this in just now so people can see what we've done and have a play around with it themselves. Just.
I'll let Gemini CLI fix it up.
Ask Gemini to see if he can take it to the next step. See how far it gets.
Yep. I need tasks to try Gemini CLI with, so I think I'll try that.
What we put on here. This is
Since just a forward warning, on Monday, that's what we're going to be talking about on the AI stream.
it's like 2nd of July already. Blimey, where's the year going?
Yeah. And,
All right, 2nd of July, animate grid view. Part.
Richard, we need a Simon MCP and plug it in. Plug it into our coding pathway. Simon MCP.
And that's in the chat now. Anyone that wants it. Well, sorry we didn't get completely there, but we'll do some more to it. And you got the code if you want to have a play around with render objects and tickers and whatever else, parent data, all sorts. There's some new things to explore, and hopefully you learn something new. Anything from anyone else before we say bye-bye?
I think we're just catch our live stream on Monday and also next Wednesday,
and maybe we even have one before then. We'll see what happens.
Maybe one before then. Yes.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Ra, for joining us on the stream. It's nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
All right. And we'll see everyone soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.